Well, enjoying another day out here in the backcountry, and I get to take you on an adventure with the one-handed opening Swiss Army Trekker. Well, that's right, folks. Here we are again. Man, I'll be honest, it's been a little bit of a rough winter for me, not being able to get out quite as much as I have wanted to. I've been snowed out like 3 times, and then just juggling family and 2 kids and all that. So if you've been following the channel, you know that we've been doing a lot of EDC videos and pocket knives and stuff. But I'm really glad to be out today. Some of the snow has melted, and it's kind of a warmer day here in the Rockies. But I'm really looking forward to talking you through this Swiss Army tool. Now, I've not done a lot of Victorinox stuff over the years, probably like 2 or 3 videos ever. I just have gravitated more to multi-tools with pliers on them. But you guys in recent years have asked me to begin to take a look. I myself have wanted to see what these tools have to offer, why are they so popular around the world, and what does this one in particular. So this one, threw down my hard-earned money, wanted to see what this has to offer because it's one-handed open, plain edge, which is great, locking mechanism on the blade itself, liner lock style. It does have a full-size saw, plus a lot of the other aspects that you would expect on most Swiss Army tools, flathead screwdrivers and can openers and things like that. So we'll get through all the basics with you, but I also really want to show you what it can do out here when you're hiking, backpacking, camping, enjoying the outdoors. We're going to do a lot of carving, a lot of whittling, a lot of using the saw for notches and cutting off little branches and things like that to see if it could be either a daily EDC for some of you, everyday carry, or if it's a great option for those of you going out into the woods. And it's a great pocket knife / multi-tool to have with you and possibly even replace some of your larger plier-based multi-tools. So we're going to break that all down today with this one-handed opening Swiss Army Trekker. All right, guys, so we'll jump through the other functions that this tool has first before we actually spend the most of the time on the blade and the saw. That's what I really want to spend a lot of our time on, and ergonomics and how that feels and just overall functionality. But what we're looking at here, you got your little key ring back here that you could attach lanyards to. I've actually found that I did a Night Eyes gear tie with a little bit of grip right there, and I threw that on there and threw it in my pocket, and this actually will grab the tool, grab your pocket material, and does a pretty good job if you don't want to do like an external pocket clip. They do make those that you can attach a little pocket clip to the ring. So this is actually a pretty cool way to kind of help it grip inside your pocket and less likely just to slide out. So that's what I did with that. That's why we're doing the gear tie, and it works well. So on the back side here, we have 2 things. We have a Phillips head screwdriver that pops out. I've always found that these, I mean, again, if it's nice and short and flush to the body of an item, then no problem. Like a wall socket or something like that. But if you have to reach down in there, this gets kind of goofy, just not super ergonomic. It's decent, but not my favorite way to work with Phillips screwdrivers. Then on the other side here, we do have an awl, which is really nice. So you can punch, leather and clothing. You could use that to scrape if you needed to. You could throw sparks with that if you wanted to as well. So that pops in the back there. Doesn't cause any hot spots, not any sort of problems or anything like that. Then you got your classic plastic toothpick and your tweezers. Over the years with the Swiss Army tools that I do have, those tweezers have become invaluable, and the toothpick as well. Just wash your toothpick, guys. Gross. Then we have very classic, nothing super home to write home about, in that you got your flathead, small and large, you got your bottle cap opener, and you've got your can opener, both very functional in what they do and what they can offer to you. None of these edges are sharp. They're all rounded and smooth. So throwing sparks off a fire steel that we will show you here in just a little bit is basically only able to be done with the awl that you saw or on the back edge of the saw. All the rest of the edges are rounded. So there are a few locking features here, and you can even see the word press right there. So this actually locks out your can opener larger flathead, and you got to press that to the side. Hopefully you guys can see that right there. You press that to the side, and that allows you to depress this. There is no locking that I can tell on this side. There's nothing that locks this out. That's just there, the can opener aspect to it. So, all right, and then we'll do dimensions on the handle. You got your polymer handle scales. I know they do have a camo version one, black version, and I'm sure they have a couple other features out there, but that's kind of that slick polymer, and we'll talk all about ergonomics here in a little bit, but just want to give you kind of perspective here. In inches, this guy's going to come in at about 4.3.
3 inches overall length. And for our overseas people, because I know that you might be watching this overseas, that's 110.08 millimeters long from front to back. And maximum thickness in millimeters is going to be about 18 millimeters thick, about 0.7 inches thick for the US followers. And I don't have a weight. My scale literally just broke, so I'll try and annotate that in right now. But it's nice and light, and I'll just leave that as an annotation. Lighter than a lot of other multi-tools out there on the market that would have a saw and a knife. So as we look here at the Trekker, the first thing is that, again, I got the one-handed opening. There is a nail nick version out there for legal reasons, probably more than anything else. We will talk ergonomics in a little bit with the saw, but I want to hit that blade with us first. I got the one-hole option more just so I'm not having to use 2 hands. If I am using this around a campsite, I might be holding something that I don't want to be putting down to try and get my nail in there, or if I'm wearing gloves, I don't want to constantly be taking my gloves on and off. It does function well with both. So it's going to slide open. It's not something you can like wrist flick. It's just too tight for that with the spring. And it is a locking mechanism, and I do believe the nail nick version does offer a locking mechanism as well. Very similar, and I kind of touched on it earlier, you know, like a liner lock basically. It's decent. I mean, there's definitely a little bit of up and down. Not really any side to side, but there is a slight rock up and down. It's better than not having any lock at all, so I appreciate that. The other thing too is that it's actually super conducive for a lefty. A lefty can push this little lever right here and pop that guy out and close it. For righties, it's backwards. So I feel you lefties out there when we're looking at normal knives. So you open it up, it locks, but then you have to like depress it to the side. It's really kind of obnoxious to try and do it that way. I wish they would have set it up in a different way for righties, since I love you lefties, but you're only 10% of the population, 90% of us, it's kind of going to be goofy for you to disengage the lock. So then as we open this bad boy up here, what we're looking at, you got that hole with a nice hump, no jimping or anything like that. It kind of reminds me of a Spyderco a little bit. And then you got that from handle to tip 3.4 inches, which equals about 88 millimeters overall length, that little drop right there. Really well designed in that regard. It is made in Switzerland, made in Switzerland, Victorinox, you know. It is a stainless steel. It is, from all of my testing and, you know, reading the forums, and guys, I'm not some, you know, knife whiz, steel whiz. If you want to go look at all the details, but basically it's a basic stainless steel, so it's rather rust resistant, but it's not going to hold a crazy edge. What I have found in my testing, very similar, like Gerber or Buck 420 high carbon steel. That's kind of in that realm is what you're going to be finding on most Victorinoxes that are out there, Swiss Army knives that are out there, which means it's very easy to put an edge, a very shaving sharp edge back on it out in the field. That's great, but it's not going to hold an edge for very long. And so first off, I did a bunch of outdoor EDC tasks, meaning like rope cutting, cordage cutting, cardboard, all those type of things that you might just do around the house, you know, at a job site, when you're working, you know, in the warehouse, whatever it may be. And I was very happy with its performance. It does very well. I also did food prep with it. How could it do a food prep task, because it is stainless steel and just the way the blade is designed? It did great with that as well. So around a campsite when you're cooking, you're just using this as an EDC knife and you're around the world and you want something that will offer you the ability to prepare your food, your lunch, you know, after, you know, you're taking your lunch break. It's going to do well in all of those around the home and or around town type of tasks very well for its design, for its, you know, way it's been laid out. It does a good job for that. So I was pleased with its functionality in that regard. Now, when I took it out in the woods, I was like, let's get to town on this thing. Can this really carve, whittle, and do the things that I would want? And I was happy with what it performed, and will absolutely compete with any other multi-tool from like Leatherman that I've ever used. I regularly will carry with me a Leatherman rebar, and this thing will easily perform and do similar tasks that those would be able to do. So lots of because of the thin blade, shaving, you know, carving tasks, it would be able to do that. Feather stick making, able to do that. And then, you know, like a notch or something like that, it will be able to perform very well as a pocket knife in that regard. Say you lost your fixed blade, you just like using Swiss Army tools because that's what you got on you, you like to practice in that type of craft, then it's going to do really well. So I was happy, very happy with it. Even with that eye hole, it works well as kind of an extra rest, giving you a little extra grip since it's kind of a slick tool. There's not a lot of texture on it. that it gives you a little extra to push on when you are doing those harder woodscraft-based tasks. But I would absolutely be able to do any sort of feather stick making I would need to start a fire, or any sort of like notching or spear making to make some sort of trap or fishing spear or something like that, easily done with this Trekker blade. And so just for ergonomic sake, I wear large size gloves, as you guys who follow regularly know and love to make fun of. So what I got here, you know, full grip, feels really nice in the hand. There aren't any sort of hot spots when I'm using the knife, again, with that finger with the ramp, you know, it gives me a little bit of lockup. This is thin, but it didn't really cause any sharp pain for me with the way the handle is designed. I could easily hold it in a reverse grip, and it feels comfortable for carving and chest lever grips and those type of things. So it gives me the full grip that I would want without really creating any hot spots, and definitely more ergonomic than, say, like a Leatherman or a Gerber multi-tool that has like pliers on it. So it's a more ergonomic feel, definitely, than those square, blocky, hefty multi-tools. So you can use it for a longer period of time without wearing out your hand out in the outdoors, which is great. I think I didn't touch on it. The actual cutting edge is like 3.1 inches, and I can't remember what that is in millimeters. But then as we disengage this guy and actually go to the saw, which is super cool that it has the saw. That's part of the reason why I bought this particular tool. I was like, if I'm going to carry a multi-tool or a Victorinox or whatever I'm carrying, it's got to be able to have a saw. So the saw does not lock. And that is, I'll be honest, kind of a downer compared to the blade, because you're putting way more leverage in a back and forth motion. And if the blade gets caught, it could bind up, and it did once or twice kind of kick down and never nick me, but it could happen. It doesn't make me go, oh, I hate this tool now, but it is something to consider that it doesn't have a locking feature, and I think that would have been awesome to see. Now, it is the same blade length as the knife itself, so 88 millimeters or about 3.4 inches overall, which is great. Very good teeth size, so the teeth are going to really bite in well, and it did great. Regardless if you just have to, you know, you want to get a really clean cut for some reason on a branch, awesome. You know, that's about maybe an inch in diameter is about max, is what I would work with if you're wanting to saw off a tree or, you know, another branch or something like that. And as long as you just kind of make sure you don't put over excessive pressure that would cause the tool to possibly bind up, you know, and then kick over the slip joint, then you're fine, and you're not going to have any sort of issue or complaint and anything like that. And then notching, I was really happy with too. So this is going to do a lot better and give you really nice, clean, square notches versus trying to do it with a knife, and a lot less energy and time, which is always a big plus. And so it is a very good time saver, particularly for the very detailed bushcraft tasks you might be wanting to do with this tool. Now, as I alluded to earlier, that does have the sharpened spine on the back, so you could do some scraping or easily throw fire or throw sparks off your fire steel with it. We did do that. I made shavings with the knife and then used it to throw sparks, and it did a fantastic job, and was really happy with that. The downer, again, is because there's no locking mechanism. There were one or two times where I was putting pressure kind of out further just because of the way the fire steel slid, and it kicked back on me and didn't, again, nick me, but it, you know, then I had to reset the tool. So you got to do, if you're going to throw sparks with this, you got to do it really close to the joint right next to the handle. If you start to get out too far, it'll kick back, you won't get the leverage, and you could possibly nick yourself and have it collapse on your hand. So that is something to consider. Again, if a locking mechanism, exact same type of liner lock the blade has, if the saw had that, it would just help a little bit more. You have to kind of work with it and baby the saw more than I would like to if it had a locking mechanism. So that's something to consider. Now, the final thing that I want to hit on with this saw in the ergonomics is that the non-one-handed open, so the nail nick version, will not have this big eye hole here, which it didn't really cause any problems for me. I actually just kind of split my finger right there, sawed, did what I needed to do. Obviously, the non-one-handed open, the nail nick version, will be more ergonomic, but it wasn't something like, oh my gosh, I'm fighting this and I'm constantly trying to reset my hand. It wasn't that big a deal to me. I heard some people, they were saying like, hey man, I can't do it. It's really, you know, irritating to me. I totally get that. If it doesn't work for you, then go with the one-handed if you're concerned about that. Or excuse me, the two-handed opening one. But this one-handed one didn't eliminate any ergonomics when I was using it as a saw. Didn't really see any issue with it, and actually kind of sat my hand a little nicer there, keeping the back three fingers a little bit more locked in, and then I'm kind of gripping here. It wasn't a downer to me in the ergonomics, even though the two-handed one will be more ergonomic for the saw.
So folks, want to hit price with you and then just final thoughts overall. This guy is going to go for about $50. You can find them sometimes for $45, anywhere between $45 and $55 is what you're going to be paying for this. We appreciate when you guys use those hyperlinks over to Amazon, Blade HQ, as well as Knockaround Sunglass Company and backcountry.com. It really helps us get out there and buy gear just like this, so I can give you guys my feeling on one of the first Victorinox, Swiss Army knives that we've tested here on the channel. And really gonna get some concept videos out of this, because we will be doing a complete separate video where we take my Leatherman rebar and this out into the field, me and my buddy or my brother, and we'll knock it out, and we'll just kind of weigh the pros and cons. For me, I definitely see value that this does have a lot of potential as a replacement for those of you thinking about carrying a Leatherman into the backcountry in the outdoors, because it's lighter. It'll be usually about $10 cheaper and have better ergonomics. So there are definitely some positives towards it. And the overall functionality, there's just a lot going for it. I think it would be awesome if Victorinox began to offer some of these with pocket clips, because I would heavily consider putting this in my pocket on a pocket clip on a regular basis. Obviously, there are these little ways you can do different things, but that would be ideal. I think that's my only thing. I'd be like, man, that'd be awesome. And I'm not fully sold on completely ditching my Leatherman, because though in the backcountry you would be doing almost nothing with pliers, it's just a nice peace of mind to have a pair of pliers, and I'm not 100% sold on it yet. I need to do a little bit more testing to say I'm going to go with this and ditch my Leathermans for my survival kits and my outdoor adventures, and no more Leathermans. But I see that it has the potential to completely eliminate the need for a Gerber or a Leatherman plier-based multi-tool when you're out hiking, backpacking, and camping. So guys, that's me. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. You will see more videos with this particular tool down the line, but it's definitely got some quality that I enjoy and capability that I like, with really the only drawback being that the saw cannot lock. That is the only major drawback that I see in the overall functionality of the tool. So thank you so much. I hope it's been enjoyable and fun and entertaining and giving you some food for thought, helped you decide if this is the right tool for you or not. And thank you so much. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, all the social media, throwing up stuff there all the time. If you're not a current subscriber, I invite you to become part of the GT family, throwing videos up all the time. And finally, guys, always remember, stay equipped, stay prepared, and we'll see you out there.